In this podcast, you get a real-life glimpse into a student's transformation. I take you into the actual coaching sessions, week by week, and you can see the student's progress in real time. So without further ado, here is AGL Live. It's July 13th. We enter into the first session that I have with my student Honeysuckle. I pick up where I ask him about what his ideal life is. I believe that when it comes to constructing your ideal life, obviously you have to know what you're going for. You have to have a clear vision of your outcome. So we pick up where me and Honeysuckle talk about his ideal life. So you talked about your ideal life, though, on your Facebook page. So what was your profession in that? Was it like working as a professor?
Like, what age are we talking about?
Just in general. Like, let's say you get to the point where you feel like you've quote-unquote made it.
Yeah.
And then you're living your ideal day in your ideal life.
So right around when I turn 30, I want to be I don't really care where I'm at, like in terms of position in my academic life. I just want to be able to like do shit that I like. But I want to have like some financial freedom, just enough to like go out and like go ski and like do shit I like by having like maybe side business.
Yeah.
And I want to have like, if I'm single, I don't really care if I have a girlfriend or not, but if I'm single, I would be like at least able to like go for the girls that are like actually make the moves. And if I have a girlfriend, I want to have like a really girlfriend who's like really intellectual and like who wants to go out and like go camping or some shit with me. And that's another thing I like find really hard about game is like I always have to go out to fucking bars and like these girls don't even fucking like what I like.
Yeah.
And, like they're all fucking business majors and like.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've experienced too.
Yeah.
So where do you think your ideal girl would hang out?
Definitely at like a co-op or like in the fucking Tahoe area, like. Yeah.
And then what does she do? So she just kind of hangs out there, or?
Yeah, she'd be like going to school there, but like having a part-time job. Likes to ski.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever go over there and like, or when you go to Tahoe, do you talk to girls and stuff like that, or?
Yeah.
People?
There are some girls there.
Yeah. Do you find it easier talking to them?
I mean, I can talk. Yeah, I have like enjoyed talking to them, but
Yeah.
I'd be like way too nervous about making the moves because I'm not local there. And Tahoe's kind of like a unique place for me too because I went there my freshman year, almost by accident, and then I made some local friends there, and then I kept coming back every winter, and I made like more and more social circle there.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like it's like a world I built.
Yeah.
And it like unique.
Yeah.
From my parents. Because like all this like college, like high school, middle school, it was like all out of my choice. But like this one I like built myself.
Yeah.
So I felt really like part of it in a sense. And I didn't want to, there's like the sense like I don't want to ruin that potentially by like approaching a girl or some shit. So there's that. So I never like really approached or like made a move on a girl there. Yeah.
Have girls like shown interest at all?
I don't know, like to what degree?
I mean, yeah, I mean, like when you're talking to them, do they seem like?
Oh yeah, like we'd be like flirty a little bit or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think That's the
They
interesting
didn't like
thing.
suck my dick.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
So that's interesting though, because it's a lot of times what happens is when things are going the best, or it's the best environment for you to meet someone, then we start playing not to lose.
Yeah. That's
Even
so
though
true.
that's like the best opportunity to win.
Yeah.
Like we start not wanting to lose anything.
Yeah.
So I found that when there's a certain point when I was like going out in Vegas where a lot of times my interactions would go really well, and then I would stop like accelerating. I would stop trying to do things like moving forward, and then I would start putting on the brakes just because I wanted to save my ego or whatever. So I'm not saying like burn it to the ground, but I think it's important to try to make some moves, like to like go on dates or whatever, like ask her out or move it forward in terms of like, hey, do you want to come back to your room or whatever? Whatever the next logical step is in that context.
I don't know, I just really like those, like, for example, that girl I work with, like, she's, like, really smart, like, she's pretty, like, she's, like, environmental conscious, like, that's, like, the kind of girl I like to date.
Yeah. And it's good that you went for it, too, because you tried to, like, take her out, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happened with that?
That day we just got really busy and, like, I don't know, like, in the lab, like, there's just so much pressure with her. Like, her being, like, really passive-aggressive. That are, like, it just kind of gets confrontational. So I kind of feel hesitant to, like, oh, let's go now. And shit like that.
Is it always confrontational, or?
Almost always.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. But then, so she's shown interest in you, though, as well?
Yeah, she would, like when we were, like, walking back home, like, she'd be like, oh, what are you doing now? And, like, oh, I'm gonna go, like, when we were about to split, like, oh, I'm gonna go this way. And I was like, oh, wait, shit, you're gonna go that way?
Yeah.
And, like, she, like, hesitate a little bit.
She's, like, making reasons to, like...
Yeah. So that kind of, like, stuff I, like, kind of notice.
Yeah, those are definitely signs.
Is that a sign?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm, like, so fucked up in my head that even the IOIs that I see, like, when I'm actually gaming at night, kind of seems like, oh, she's just doing that for no reason. Like, when I'm in a social circle setting. Because I've had no result with her. Like, I kind of have, like, this limiting belief that in social circle, the girls don't like me.
Oh, yeah. I guess that comes from your past
Yeah.
experiences in college or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that there's like 3 times in particular that were noticeable in terms of like traumatic experiences, or when it came to the girls.
Yeah. Maybe I should pull it up.
Okay.
I wrote a lot. So Julian talked about like 4 things that like you should be aware of to bring up all those.
Yeah, like past
subconsciousness.
patterns. And...
Yeah. So think about your childhood.
Yeah.
Second one was patterns that you go through in a daily life. 3 is trigger, and 4 is like escapism. So I learned a lot in my childhood stuff. So one thing is like my mom, I got caught like watching porn by my mom one time, and she's like, that shit is dirty, and like it's like all the girls there are like fucking trash. Like, and it kind of like, even though like porn is kind of like that, like it kind of made me feel like sex is bad.
Yeah, it puts like shame over it.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, I found out about porn when I was like 5th grade. This is like really weird, but like I kind of like started masturbating even before I started to come. I would just like dry hump everything. I didn't even like do this.
Yeah.
I just like dry hump everything, and I like feel something.
Yeah.
And my mom was like keep telling me to not to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like keep
so
doing it
like
like
a dog or something.
Yeah. And like people wouldn't even notice because I wouldn't even have to like make like drastic motion to like get that orgasmic feeling. So I just like do it at school and like do it everywhere. And Like, do it on the floor.
Have you seen there's this Louis C.K. bit about like how when you're a kid?
Yeah, I've seen that. I like related to that so much.
Just like fuck the whole house. Your parents are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny actually.
Yeah, another thing here is like my mom and dad fought a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they like never showed love to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never saw them kiss or like touch each other.
Yeah, I think that's a common Asian thing as well.
Yeah.
There's very little intimacy.
Yeah, and I found like a couple times like my dad like cheating on my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen like when I go through like my dad's phone, like I see those like pictures with another girl and stuff like that, or like text messages.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. Also, like, I had a really fucking amazing moment, like, so in Max's Fearless I'm doing right now, there was this call to action, like, call up a friend and then talk about something that you're afraid of, because you'd be shamed if your friend knew. So I took that, like, really seriously, so, wait, let me piss real quick.
Okay.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where was I? So I couldn't like make the video at one sitting because I was like, what should I say?
Mm-hmm.
So I started like writing down what I would say in the video,
Mm-hmm.
and then as I was writing down, like, I talked about. So I wanted to talk about like game, because I would never tell it to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like my darkest secret.
Yeah.
Like being involved in game and like spending like thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should talk about that. So I started writing about like my sexual frustration, like how I like got into like prostitution,
Mm-hmm.
and like spent like thousands of dollars in game, about how like that really helped me in the end, like find better about myself. And then as I was writing that, like I was writing about like why I might be like so fucked up with sexual frustration, and I started talking about my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started talking about where sometimes my dad would like hit my mom, and like my dad would like get in a fight with my mom a lot when I was like elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he would like beat her, and I don't know, like my sister and I could like hear everything.
Yeah.
Because they were like so loud at night, and we just like cried in the fucking pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And one time like my mom was getting hit, and then like I literally had to like go stop like stand in front of my dad to like stop hitting her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just like started crying.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I was writing that, like I wasn't even feeling like crying, but then all of a sudden like something like triggered.
Yeah.
And then I just like started like bawling.
Mm-hmm.
Crying so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was like really weirded out. I was like, why am I crying so much?
Yeah.
And I really like felt the power of like subconsciousness like that time.
Yeah, it just like brings to the surface.
Yeah, I didn't know it was like such a strong thing like that was like built up inside.
Yeah.
Like I never thought about that like for so many years, and then like it all came back up like, and I just started crying, and I called my mom that day, and like I didn't even remember why they were fighting. So I was like, why did Dad beat you so much? And like we just talked about it, and like told my mom why I'm crying, and like told her like I loved her. No, I didn't say that for a really long time either.
Yeah.
Like genuinely. And my dad was like, no, and she would like tell the stories about my dad. So my dad is pretty much like an underdog. Like her parents didn't have any money. Like he had to work really hard to like get to the level he was at.
Mm-hmm.
And he always wanted to be a lawyer because he went to law school.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this like standardized test you have to pass to become a lawyer in Korea back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like once a year. And he failed like 4 times. And he was gonna do it again, but then he had me.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to find a way to like support the family. So he gave up that dream and then became like he got a job at a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he climbed the corporate ladder to get to that point where he is right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I even though my dad, like, beat my mom a lot and, like, felt really aloof to family, like, I just kind of, like, really sympathized with him. Because he, like, gave up a lot. And, like, I heard him, like, he would come home always drunk, and he would say shit like, oh, like, fuck this guy, and, like, fuck that guy, like, who was, like, his coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, like, really stressed, too. And I think he was, like, projecting that stress to, like, the family.
Yeah.
But he only had that stress because he was trying to make money for us. So I kind of, like, understood, like, how it's not his fault either. It's, like, the society, and, like, that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. So I had a lot of thoughts about my family, too, then. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. But that's interesting, though. Like, everything that you experience when you're younger is layered into your subconscious.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it forms your beliefs, like your fundamental beliefs about things. Yeah, that is really insightful, though.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, I was really involved in this environmental movement, and it was, like, this effort to save this wetland that I was involved in for, like, many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
But then it ended up getting developed. And, like, the site after getting developed was, like, the wetland just, like, dried up completely and become, like, desert, like, became like a desert.
Yeah.
And it was, like, pretty, like, traumatic. So, like, that's when I, like, really started developing, like, I just, like, hated people, like this world is, like, full of capitalism, like, people are fucking corrupt. And I just, like, built that really, like, victim mindset, like, everyone's trying to fuck you over.
Yeah.
And I just, like, hated, like, all that concept of, like, trying to get more money, like, trying to succeed, and, like, and I just, like, hated people, I don't know, in general.
Yeah.
And
Do you still have these underlying thoughts?
No, I'm, like, way more free now, though. I try not to judge people anymore based on, like, their values and stuff. I still have a lot of, like, activism-y friends, so they don't understand me very well. But I understand them because I had, like, similar thought loops.
So they have, like, the victim mentality.
Yeah. I try to explain to them, but of course they'd be like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would you say, like, your closest friends are right now? Mostly people from work?
Game. Wingman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are they like in terms of their lives and things like that?
I don't know, it's just like game. People I meet through a game, though, like, they're all really about, like, self-improvement stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
So it just kind of feels out of touch sometimes.
What feels
from
out of
the
touch?
world that I know of, like,
Yeah.
very, like, activism oriented. Like, all my friends in college are, like, very, like, outdoorsy, like, very into, like, activism, like, nerdy. But then all the guys I would meet in inner circle would be, like, business people, like, trying to get good with girls. But then, in a ways, I would connect them with more in terms of, like, women, like, sexual frustration. So it's, like, two different worlds that I connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they would never mix in together.
That's interesting. Yeah, so you just, like, you kind of compartmentalize your life a bit.
Yeah, it did become like that. So when I was making that video, I was, like, trying to connect it.
Yeah.
That friend was, like, that kind of person, like, activism, like, outdoorsy. Didn't really know anything about game. Yeah, I think, like, at some point, I just, like, was so aching in my heart, just being, like, anxieties, that I just felt like I wished almost, like, I didn't feel any emotion. Yeah.
It's like I must have had a lot of pain inside of me.
That's stuff. And then I talk about like how I like did prostitution, like then I found out a game, and I spent like a lot of money on it. And I ended and then I make the second version about like, and I just want to make some adjustments like, game I like spent a lot of money and time, but like it actually really helped me a lot, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he respond?
Yeah, he actually responded to me saying like it's all good, like no judgments.
Yeah.
I still love you.
So then you probably felt a lot better after that. Yeah, I guess that's the thing is like no matter how dark you feel like your past is, or how dark you think the things that you're into like game are, like people actually don't they don't judge that as much as you think they do.
Yeah.
Like I remember I took my mom to training.
You took your mom to what?
To immersion training
Really?
one time. Yeah.
Like in the room, Sapphire?
Yeah. And it was kind of like for this reason too. Like I wanted to be full disclosure.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be ashamed about anything. So
Yeah.
I took her to like a coach's breakdown.
Yeah.
And so like we went through Sapphire. She's like, "Oh, you work at a strip club?" I know, I guess. Yeah. And yeah, then she like sat through a coach's breakdown, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." I'm
I'm
like,
so proud.
I wasn't expecting that reaction, but
I think my mom would freak out.
yeah, because we did a Q&A, and like I gave some answers about like what I would do in a certain situation.
Was Luke there?
No,
Okay.
just the coaches. Yeah, so it was interesting, but yeah, I guess I had like a similar experience. But I do think it's important, or not even just important, but it's good to realize that I mean people don't judge as much as you think.
Yeah.
Especially during the daytime. I'm sure you mentioned that during the daytime you have a lot harder time approaching people.
Yeah. But then it's like kind of like being normalized to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what usually goes through your head when you feel nervous or anxious?
Well, especially in Berkeley, I feel more anxiety than when I'm day gaming in San Francisco because this is where I work.
Yeah.
And like, I'm gonna be here for a year. Like, and if I get into grad school here, what if I meet the girl I hit on? Like, becomes like one of my students when I'm TAing. Shit like that goes through my head.
So
And what if it's like a grad student, and like, I'm gonna meet her at like a department meeting?
Yeah.
Shit
So
like that.
how do you usually approach though? Is it like very intentful or?
I usually like do direct compliment.
Okay.
And actually, it's funny. Like I went out yesterday and we gamed this girl, and I ended up like giving her my number, and then we talked about like her working for our lab because she's been like really interested in it, and like she's gonna come and talk to my professor like a few days later.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So she's getting like a job out of it, basically.
Maybe, yeah.
That's cool.
I like gave her an interview, like job interview on the spot.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I guess the thing to think about though is like, if you're, I mean, there's two things. Like, if you're feeling ashamed of it, that's one thing of approaching during the daytime. But another thing is like, when I'm talking to people during the daytime now, because I used to feel that same anxiety, but then I came to realize like I'm just talking to them.
Yeah.
But that's another thing is like, if I'm approaching in a way where I feel anxious about it, then it might be the wrong way to go about it. I mean, there's two issues. It's like, number one, maybe you just feel general social anxiety, and that's what's preventing you from doing it. But also, if you're like going up super intentful, then maybe that's not the best way to go about it either.
Yeah.
Because I guess the way I approach it now is just like, give value up front through your energy or through like teasing or spiking emotions or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it as a technique, but just like inject her with some good energy. Basically.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's been working really well. But then I would see these guys like fucking day gaming and like pulling and shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't fucking do that.
That's like a separate issue. There's like two parts to it. I think number one, you just have to get through the part where you're like, you're not really too anxious about it. I mean, you can work at both simultaneously, but if you get to the point where it's like you actually want to talk to the girl or you want to talk to people in general, then your anxiety will start to fade away a bit. Yeah. Because what I make a point to do as well is like, if I talk to the cashier, then I try to like inject him or her with my good energy as well.
Yeah.
And that energy carries over into my day. So that's one side of it. Another side of it is like the quote unquote like compliance part of it. Like how do you move things forward?
Yeah.
And there's a sense of shame and anxiety associated with that too.
Yeah.
So that's like another thing that you have to think about as
But
well.
I think like fake it till you make it is. I feel like some people like in modern day game, like especially like RSD kind of shits on it, but like I think there's some truth to it.
So it's gonna get you results, but you're also gonna go through this game identity crisis.
Oh, okay.
Where basically, like, you start to think that, oh, it's the lines and techniques that are getting me the results, so you try to learn more, and then you start attaching your ego to those techniques or whatever. So then there's this weird conflation of, like, is it me that's doing it, or is it the techniques, or am I the techniques? Like, what's happening here? It's weird. It's like an existential.
I don't think I've had that.
Yeah, it happens over time. Usually when you get like decent results and you start attaching yourself to those results, and you feel like you have this need to maintain this ego. So it's good to work on both simultaneously.
That's what Todd always says. Like, it's never inner game or outer game. It's you have to work on both.
And I think a lot of guys tend to like neglect the psychological, emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I've seen.
I think it's getting better though, like in the dating industry.
Kind of, but it's also swept under the rug a lot of times.
Oh, okay.
Where I'll see like articles that people write or questions that guys will ask me, and it directly goes against like the emotional development part of it. Like it's clear that they're neglecting that completely.
Yeah, I only know like RSD mostly, so
yeah.
I feel like RSD kind of like focuses on that like core confidence, you know.
Yeah, I guess like certain principles of it. I guess the main thing is like a lot of times students or guys that are learning it, they'll attach themselves to. They'll look for like more of the models and the techniques that actually are practical or work. So, I guess my main point is like, what were we talking about initially? We're talking about like the shame associated with moving things forward.
Yeah.
So I think removing that anxiety by exploring where that shame is coming from will also facilitate the process.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like when I did the meditation retreat and when I came back and started doing yoga and like aligning chakras and focusing on that, my quote unquote game actually improved without me going out, which is weird because I went out to surrender one night and Ashkan was like, your game looks really fucking good. And he's like, have you been going out? I'm like, I haven't gone out in like 2 months.
Yeah.
But I felt more friggin' spontaneous to do shit. Yeah, just because like you feel like your energy is unblocked. And releasing from that shame will help too. Is my main point.
Yeah, I kind of felt similar too, like during that senior year, like even though I didn't game it like at all, but like I just felt more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I came back, I had like that few periods of approach anxiety, but like I got like right back on my where my skill level was, and I like improved a little bit too.
Yeah.
That was like really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think like removing the anxieties, like the core issues of them, will ensure that you're not regressing at all. Because I think what happens a lot of times is that guys will cover it up with techniques, and then they'll get to a certain point, and then that's when they have this skill level sort of idea, where it's like they've gone to a certain skill level, but they attribute it to the techniques, and then they haven't gone out in a while, so the underlying anxieties and emotional problems are still there.
Yeah.
But they haven't dealt with it, so they rise to the surface once they go out again. So it's good that you felt like you were at essentially the same place you were, because that means that there was some foundational change that was happening.
Yeah. Also, I was just seeing this. So I had like pretty much like 3 crushes in my life. Like one was at freshman year, one before was at in high school, and one before was at in elementary school. And I think that elementary school one was like really shameful experience for me, because like like the whole school fucking knew like I liked this girl, and then like I wrote like a fucking love letter to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then like one time, like after like 2 weeks, like she like messaged me through like AOL kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And she, like literally the first liner was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
And like the next day, like the whole school fucking found out. And I remember like my school is in my classroom is in 4th floor, and then I literally stood on the staircase
Mm-hmm.
through like fucking two periods, and then my friends were like literally pushing me into the fucking classroom because I wouldn't go in.
Mm.
And yeah, it was just like it was really shameful experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I traced back way more like why I felt so like chody, like, and I felt like I had to like write a love letter.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I moved around a lot when I was young because of my dad and like education. I went to like Canada. So like moving around a lot, like just kind of like completely cut off my social circle every time I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I became like more like ostracized. And like when I went to Canada, like I didn't even speak English then, so like I felt like way more isolated. And yeah, so I think I became like shy,
Mm-hmm.
like because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I might be like shy like intrinsically too, but yeah, I think being shy and then like getting rejected by a girl because of that,
Mm-hmm.
another girl, and then here's me.
Yeah. So like you're basically shy throughout high school or through your elementary school
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you...
Oh, I wasn't like shy,
Yeah.
but I would like never talk to someone until they talk to me.
Mm.
But I'd be shy about like girls, mostly.
Yeah.
And another thing I did, because I had like so much fucking money from my parents, I would like buy all these. So Korea's big in game, right? So I would buy all these like really like game accounts
Mm-hmm.
that had like really good like items and shit. And I would like buy accounts for my friends, so we could like go out and play together.
Yeah.
And that gave like tons of validation for me because I would like be the provider.
Yeah.
And like my friends would like worship me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like really fucked up with like my trying to like seek for validation too.
Mm-hmm.
And just being like shy all around, like I always wanted like attention. I like craved for attention.
Mm.
So I would like spend more money. Like I would like sometimes like steal my parents' money like out of their wallets and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know if this all makes sense.
No, yeah, it's... I like to just like get an overall holistic picture.
Yeah. How fucked up I am.
I think most people have...
That's what I think too. I think most
issues.
people have like fucked up experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
there's
definitely
some-
not like the worst.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're aware of these things. I think 99% of the population aren't aware of their emotional underlying issues at all.
I recently just like found out about every single one of those, like just
Yeah.
writing a lot.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too when I was in Thailand. Because I went to I watched Transformation Mastery too.
Yeah.
And then I also like did that meditation thing. And what happened during the meditation retreat was basically like all of my subconscious memories from my past, like throughout my life, rose to the surface in random order.
Yeah.
Like just one by one, I was like, oh shit, like I forgot about that thing.
Yeah.
And some of them were really funny and some of them were really dark. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it was kind of like my life was flashing before my eyes. I guess I'm seeing like an overall picture where maybe it's like because of the way your dad dealt with things, then you start to pattern the way you deal with things after that in terms of like the violent side.
Mm-hmm.
And then you suppress it now because you have more discipline and control to suppress it. But then the confrontational side comes up every once in a while.
What do you mean the confrontational side?
Like in terms of like arguing with people or like like you said, you kicked a trash can.
That was, I thought, like really unusual for me.
Yeah.
I think it was good actually.
You need like a physical, emotional outlet or something.
Yeah, and I felt good because I like did it in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm.
and I like didn't care what other people thought.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
I
I think I just did that because I've been like so much in tune with like just being honest recently.
Yeah.
Just like expressing every emotion I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just kind of did that, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think it was like kind of positive. I don't know. But the fact that I didn't tell her then and there was, I think,
Didn't tell her that you felt that way.
yeah, was wrong. But yeah.
Yeah. I guess you can't be too hard on yourself either.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I read like No More Mr. Nice Guy and also like The One Thing, and they both talk about like being totally honest and radical honesty too. But yeah, I mean, that is it's like a good way to live life in general, I feel like.
But then I was always also going through this thought loop, like, so if I'm supposed to be like completely transparent,
Mm-hmm.
am I supposed to express my thoughts every time I have like jealousy? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds kind of like almost too out there. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say there's got to be a balance to it too.
yeah, like you don't have to say everything, right?
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for empathy too. Because if you're like super open about everything all the time,
Yeah,
then you're gonna be off-putting to the person you're talking
That's actually,
to
yeah.
sometimes.
there's
Because
one thing I learned over the years too. Yeah.
being socially aware of how the other person feels. But then there's sometimes you'll just get this like compulsion or need to say something, and there's like emotional resistance behind it.
Yeah.
And those moments, I think it's good to
Yeah.
express it.
So I think today it would have been good
Yeah.
if I said something like,
Yeah, it sounds like, especially if you
don't
dwell
call
on
me,
it.
talk to me like that or something like that.
Yeah, I guess, but you don't have to do it in a confrontational way.
Yeah.
For me, I guess for me, I'm very objective when it comes to those things.
Yeah.
So then just kind of call her out a bit, but
No, I actually did call her out a bit.
mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, you seem a little stressed. Are you okay? I'm like, she's like, no. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
She's like, no. And it was like obvious, like fucking, she was being like really passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did call out a bit.
Yeah, I guess like even just calling it out completely the way you're thinking about it too, because stress is kind of like a euphemism for what it actually was, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good that you're making strides in terms of like being more honest. Before, were you more passive aggressive? Before, were you more passive aggressive when it came to things? You would like suppress it and
Yeah, I'll suppress it.
yeah, I definitely went through that too.
Yeah, and that shit like builds up, you know, like,
Yeah.
and it will hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely what happened with like that crush I had when I was freshman.
Mm.
You know the funniest thing is though, she moved here as well,
Oh really?
and like we still hang out,
Oh really?
and like I like completely let go of that like any sort of like neediness feeling. So like
Yeah.
we're pretty good terms, even though like, and I think one of the proudest thing I'd done was like, even though we like ended badly and like after his first semester of sophomore year, I moved out of the house we were living together.
Mm-hmm.
And then like completely didn't talk to her at all. So we were like still fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But then end of that year, I like called her and like I told her like I was sorry. Like I just felt bad and I felt like I needed to avoid you. And like I'm so sorry for what like everything I said and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like made up a little bit. And I think like, she's kind of like attracted to me right now.
Yeah.
Like she'll like hit up on me sometimes, like, oh, let's go hiking or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Do you ever think about like moving it forward with her?
I would.
Yeah.
I think like if I made a move on her, like regardless of the result, I think I would feel a lot of catharsis. Like,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if you feel that way, then you should go for it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the main thing. Is like,
I think like God gave me like second chance or something.
yeah,
yeah,
the universe works in mysterious ways.
But now I don't really care if I get her or not.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good to have like some sort of desire to give you direction, but then willingness to let go of the outcome.
Yeah.
It's a difficult balance to strike, but
Yeah, it's all about like, sometimes it's all about like balance.
yeah,
I feel
exactly. And I think everything's about balance. Like
Yeah.
temperance, Aristotle said temperance is the most important cardinal virtue.
Temperance?
Yeah, so like balance, like tempering between things. Because if you go extreme, like he has 4 cardinal virtues, like justice and wisdom. If you're like too wise in certain scenarios, then it's bad. If you're not wise enough, then it's obviously bad as well.
Right.
But then the confrontational side comes up every once in a while.
What do you mean the confrontational side?
Like in terms of like arguing with people, or like like you said, you kicked a trash can.
That was, I saw, like really unusual for me.
Yeah,
I think it was good actually.
you need like a physical, emotional outlet or something.
Yeah, and I felt good because I like did it in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I like didn't care what other people thought.
Yeah,
I would never do that.
I
I think I just did that because I've been like so much in tune with like just being honest recently.
Yeah.
Just like expressing every emotion I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just kind of did that, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think it was like kind of positive, I don't know. But the fact that I didn't tell her then and there was, I think,
Didn't tell her that you felt that way.
yeah, was wrong. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can't be too hard on yourself either.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I read like No More Mr. Nice Guy and also like The One Thing, and they both talk about like being totally honest and radical honesty too. But yeah, I mean, that is it's like a good way to live life in general, I feel like.
But then I was always also going through this thought loop, like, so if I'm supposed to be like completely transparent, am I supposed to express my thoughts every time I have like jealousy? Like, that sounds kind of like almost too out there. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say there's got to be a balance to it too.
yeah, like you don't have to say everything, right?
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for empathy too. Because if you're like super open about everything all the time, then you're gonna be off-putting to the person you're talking to sometimes. Because
it's one thing I learned over the years too.
Yeah, being socially aware of how the other person feels. But then there's sometimes you'll just get this like compulsion or need to say something, and there's like emotional resistance behind it.
Yeah.
And those moments, I think it's good to express it.
So I think today it would have been good.
Yeah.
If I said something like.
Yeah, it sounds like, especially if you dwell on it.
Talk to me like that or something like that.
Yeah, I guess, but you don't have to do it in a confrontational way.
Yeah.
For me, I'm very objective when it comes to those things.
Yeah.
So then just kind of call her out a bit, but.
I actually did call her out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, you seem a little stressed. Are you okay? I'm like, she's like, no. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
She's like, no. And it was like obvious, like fucking, she was being like really passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did call out a bit.
Yeah, I guess like even just calling it out completely the way you're thinking about it too. Because stress is kind of like a euphemism for what it actually was, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good that you're making strides in terms of like being more honest. Before, were you more passive aggressive? Before, were you more passive aggressive when it came to things? You would like suppress it and.
Yeah, I'll suppress it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely went through that too.
Yeah, and that shit like builds up, you know, like.
Yeah.
And it will hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely what happened with like that crush I had when I was freshman.
Mm.
You know the funniest thing is though, she moved here as well.
Oh really?
And like we still hang out.
Oh really?
And like I like completely let go of that like any sort of like neediness feeling. So like we're pretty good terms. Even though like, and I think one of the proudest thing I'd done was like even though we like ended badly and like after his first semester of sophomore year, I moved out of the house we were living together.
Mm-hmm.
And then like completely didn't talk to her at all. So we were like still fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But then end of that year, I like called her and like I told her like I was sorry. I just felt bad and I felt like I needed to avoid you. And like I'm so sorry for like everything I said and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like made up a little bit. And I think like, she's kind of like attracted to me right now.
Yeah.
Like she'll like hit up on me sometimes like, oh, let's go hiking or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about like moving it forward with her?
I would.
Yeah.
I think like if I made a move on her, like regardless of the result, I think I would feel a lot of catharsis. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I think if you feel that way, then you should go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing is like...
I think like God gave me like second chance or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the universe works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. But now I don't really care if I get her or not.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good to have like some sort of desire to give you direction, but
Yeah.
then willingness to let go of the outcome.
Yeah.
It's a difficult balance to strike, but
Yeah, it's all about like, sometimes it's all about like balance.
yeah,
I feel like.
exactly. And I think everything's about balance. Like
Yeah.
temperance, Aristotle said temperance is the most important cardinal virtue.
Temperance?
Yeah, so like balance, like tempering between
Yeah.
things. Because if you go extreme, like he has 4 cardinal virtues, like justice and wisdom. If you're like too
Yeah.
wise in certain scenarios, then it's bad. If you're not wise enough, then it's obviously bad as well.
Right.